Peter Boykin for hashtag Go Right with Peter Boykin. Please share this and like this for more information. You can go to gorightnews.com for new articles. We got a couple of things to talk about today. Thank you for tuning in to hashtag Go Right. First on the agenda today, Meta, Facebook, faces scrutiny for censoring content related to Donald Trump. Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, and with Threads now, has recently come under fire for its handling of content related to a purported assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. The incident has raised concerns about the role of big tech companies in shaping public discourse, essentially, especially in our 2024 election approaches. Now, on Instagram, a widely circulated photo of Donald Trump raising his fist after being, they say allegedly, but after being shot, was labeled as a, quote, altered photo. This label applied to various posts, including a notable one from a user who criticized the platform's actions. This fact check accompanied the label claimed the image was doctored to show, quote, smiling secret agents surrounded Trump amid shooting, although the image did not depict smiling agents. Meanwhile, Meta's AI virtual assistant providing conflicted information when queried about the incident. When asked by a New York Post whether the assassination attempt was fictional, the bot responded, quote, there was no real assassination attempt on Donald Trump. I strive to provide accurate and reliable information, but sometimes mistakes can occur. You think? Interestingly, the AI was able to give accurate details on other political figures, such as Kamala Harris's presidential campaign. The situation appears to contradict previous statements by Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg, who reportedly remarked, seeing Donald Trump get up after getting shot in the face and pump his fist in the air with the American flag is one of the most badass things I've ever seen in my life. During a conversation with Bloomberg, the contrast between Zuckerberg's comments and the platform's content moderation has sparked debate over Meta's internal consistency or inconsistency and its potential influence on political narratives. I'm going to stop right there. We're talking about Facebook, who has for years let repeatedly fake profiles throughout their website, faking people, taking people's identity, scamming people, multiple scammers. You don't know if you're threatening a real person or not. People don't want to pay for the verification like I do to make sure that people know you're talking to verified people. They've removed websites, Donald Trump websites that I've had for no real reason. There is almost zero support. Even though when you're verified, they claim you have more support, you still see no support. They spend more time fact-checking your facts during the whole during the election, etc., instead of getting rid of the fraud. They will use AI to find a little phrase that you might say, or something that you said years ago, or a picture that you said years ago, or say that your video has a copyright that was on years ago. And I've had this even on things that I actually paid to boost. And again, paying the boost is really making sure your post gets seen to begin with. But they're always telling you they're pushing you down the list. Meanwhile, I see some of my posts get pushed up, so I know some people are seeing my posts, but it seems like political posts get pushed down, especially if they're right-wing political posts. The reason I went back to doing live videos like this. A little bit harder for them to figure out what I'm talking about. When I do the re-edit, we'll see. I always do a re-edit. So let's continue on. Now, in response to this backlash, Meta's communication director, Danny Lever, issued an apology stating, quote, "This was an error. This has been fixed, and we apologize for the mistake." The tool also acknowledged the inaccuracies provided, well, the company, the tool, the company, might as well be the tool. The company also acknowledged the inaccuracies provided by its AI tool, noting that it occasionally disseminates incomplete, inconsistent, or out of date information. Well, if it doesn't work, honey, maybe you shouldn't use it. Now, there's opinion based content in this podcast. I'm a constitutionalist for liberty. I'm a political observer. I do offer opinion based content. I do have criticisms of big tech companies' potential bias and the suggestion of deliberate censorship. I think it's going on. Some people might say not. The concern here is the influence of large technology and technological firms on the information landscape, especially concerning significant political figures and events. This issue underscores the broader debate over free speech and the responsibilities of tech giants in a constitutional republic. As the election nears, it is anticipated that similar issues will persist, with big tech companies potentially playing a controversial role in the dissemination of information about candidates and political events. And we all know this happens because we know the Biden administration, the Barack Obama administration, etc., have been in cahoots, especially Meta and Zuckerberg or whatever his name is, in pushing back Republicans. I never agreed with QAnon, but they went through every single thing that had anything to do with QAnon and removed it from Facebook. Same thing with Proud Boys. Removed everything from Facebook. And they've tried to do it with the election and the C information. I won't even say the word. Misinformation labels, the labels that basically get you suspended or pushed down the list. They even had a meme of Hunter Biden in his underwear with a scarf on that people put up in a weather balloon, and if that meme was put up, then they said that was nudity, etc. But there is nudity on Facebook, but they don't do anything about it. Anytime you report, nothing seems to ever happen. But the minute you say the wrong word or the wrong thing, and bam, they take you down. That's Facebook for you. So let's move on to the next news. So we've been talking about Kamala Harris. Yes, we've beat a dead horse to death with Biden, Joe Biden. He's kind of nothing burger right now. I know he's supposedly trying to work with the Supreme Court or trying to change the Supreme Court and some kind of term limits and some kind of social code or thing they got to go through. Somehow he's being a little dictator. It's not going to work. There's only less than 100 days before the election. Joe Biden is done. He needs to just shut up and just stay irrelevant and try not to fall down. Meanwhile, we don't even know if Kamala Harris will be the candidate because the Democratic National haven't happened yet. We don't know who her vice president will be. On the note, Roy Cooper here in North Carolina, a more moderate Democrat that was afraid to run as vice president because he would possibly have to leave the state. And he was afraid that our candidate for governor, Mark Robinson, who I do not like, and I've said it multiple times, who I think is a very flawed candidate, and I was bamboozled into supporting him back in 2018. I think he's a DEI candidate that has a lot of corruption and a lot of flaws that people with a lot of money has basically exploited to push him into some sort of viral internet star and a political pundit. Zero experience, don't think he would be a good governor. And even Cooper thinks he shouldn't be a good governor because Cooper is afraid, as lieutenant governor, he would take over as governor if Cooper had to go out of town to campaign with Kamala Harris. So Cooper has decided to not be a vice presidential candidate or in consideration due to this fact, good or bad. I don't care what you call me because I don't agree with Mark Robinson being our governorial candidate. I think it's not too late to write in somebody like Dale Folwell, who I still disagree with a few things on, but I think would have been a much better candidate for much better candidate for governor. And it looks like Josh Stein will probably end up our governor. Again, nothing that I can do about it. People say, well, why didn't you say it while you were running for lieutenant governor? Well, I was running for lieutenant governor. Harping about the potential governor candidate while I'm running for office really makes no sense at all. But people have, quote, decided. But that doesn't mean I'm going to vote for him. It doesn't mean I'm going to hold my nose and vote for him. And it doesn't mean I'm going to vote for Josh Stein. Frankly, I don't care. Only thing I can say is that Josh Stein isn't the worst we could have at the end of the day. We need to worry about real things that matter. So let's talk about Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris's record on illegal immigration and criminal justice. In our previous podcast, we went over a whole smorgasbord of things that Kamala Harris has done badly, poorly, and we're going to continue that with this trend and examine the history and policy statuses and stances of Kamala Harris, especially in the light of her tenure as San Francisco District Attorney. One incident stands out and may concern many voters. This incident involves her handling of an illegal immigrant, Alexander Izaguirre, who had pled guilty to selling cocaine. Instead of pursuing deportation or incarceration, Harris opted to enroll Izaguirre in her, quote, back on track program, which was designated as an alternative to incarceration. Now, program outcome and public safety concerns. The choice to place Izaguirre, I'm sure I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, in this program had serious consequences. Several months later, this same person committed a violent crime, assaulting Amanda Keffer by robbing her and subsequently running her over with her own vehicle, resulting in severe injuries, including a fractured skull. This tragic event raises critical questions about the balance between criminal justice reform initiatives and public safety. And I'm going to tell you, years ago, during that whole, and we were talking about Mark Robinson going and speaking at city council, and he got famous and everything. I was also going to Greensboro City Council. I read off names of victims of illegal aliens that were murdered or killed or died as a result of sanctuary states, of illegals coming over to this country, of people who shouldn't be here, of violent criminals. And I read that off. A lot of people did not like that in the audience. I will give it to the fact that the council let me speak. Of course, no big backers behind me, no viralness on that video. I had my moment. But it's important to continue and speak. And I probably need to start going back to city councils again and start raising a little more cane. So, victims' voices and public discontent. Amanda Keffer, who is now 44, has been vocal about her views on Harris's approach to criminal justice. She expressed disbelief at Harris's portrayal as a tough-on-crime prosecutor, stating, quote, if people who committed crimes were allowed to stay out of prison to train for jobs they couldn't legally hold, I think most Americans' concerns about policies and may prioritize rehabilitation at the expense of public safety, particularly when involving individuals not legally present in the United States. So she gave another guy a chance, a criminal, which, some cases that might be good to keep people out of jail, to give people a second chance. But when it comes to a potential illegal alien that we don't know any information about, we don't know what they've done, we don't know their criminal record, why? Why didn't we deport these people? Why don't we get rid of these people? Why don't we get them out of our country? Why do we let them stay to cause more violence on our citizens? Why do we not protect our citizens? And if she's planning on trying to be president, she needs to realize that we, the people, deserve to be protected by the government. That is one of the biggest roles the government has, to protect us. Society. This is a society, after all, like the Joker says. And we have to live in one. And that's what are we paying our taxes for? So here's analysis and context. It's important to consider these events in the broader context of Harris's career and policy positions, or her career and policy positions. Missionary. While her intentions with the, quote, back on track program may have been focused on rehabilitation and potential risks associated with such initiatives, voters evaluating Harris's suitability for higher office may weigh these factors, particularly those who prioritize law and order and stringent immigration enforcement. So the information presented reflects events and responses as they occurred, and it is crucial for the public to critically assess how such policies align with their views on governance and public safety in our constitutional republic. Again, I urge you, it's important, no matter what political side you're on, left or right or middle or whatever, vet your candidates. Find out if the candidate can do their job. Don't let popularity contests rule it. And people might go, well, Donald Trump is real popular. They just voted for him because he was popular. No, because Donald Trump proved to us that he knew what the hell he was talking about. He knew the art of the deal. He had that history. Democrats liked him when he was a Democrat because he did good things. They didn't like him when he became a Republican because all of a sudden you got this mentality that we can't let the other side win. And sometimes there is a candidate that might be on the opposite side of the party who honestly might be the better candidate at this time. And whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? Sometimes the voters' fault. Sometimes the candidate has lied and bamboozled people and been a real politician. What do you expect? But I'm tired of excuses. I'm tired of it saying, well, this, after all, it's just politics. After all, we got to do this. And after all, we got to win. And after all, we've got to do this. We got to win. We got to win. We got to win. We have to have this position, blah, blah, blah. We got to vote on this because we got to have this. And then the things go wiry. And then at the end of the day, you're like, what the hell just happened? That's another reason why so many unaffiliated candidates or unaffiliated voters, especially in North Carolina, are growing, which is the #1 party. And I keep repeating it, unaffiliated, independent, not Democrat, not Republican, not Libertarian, not Constitutionalist, not Constitution Party, whatever, American Party or whatever else, unaffiliated voters, the #1 party in North Carolina, which also goes to show that our voting system should be different, because I know they have a Republican ballot and a Democrat ballot, but unaffiliators can only pick one or the other ballot, which is, I think, is wrong, because if you're unaffiliated, why should you be forced to pick just Republicans to vote for or just Democrats to vote for? And if you're independent, you should be able to choose one of somebody from a different column, just like when you do the election. I don't understand why you can't. I understand, yes, it's the Republican primary, this is the people. You've already gotten that far. You have these people running as Republicans. Unaffiliated voters should be able to pick or choose. Not both parties at one time, but per candidacy, per position. I feel that should be more of an open ballot in North Carolina. I don't know how other people feel. I don't think they think that unaffiliated people shouldn't be able to vote at all. They should just get whatever candidate gets the vote. But that's how we end up getting bad candidates. That's how we get extreme candidates. I'm going to make this analogy. When there's a boat and it's a floating, there's a plane and you're a flying. We have people on the left, we have people on the right, and sometimes they make you balance things in order to keep the boat afloat, in order to keep the plane balanced. That's why it's important to have these unaffiliated voters, to keep balance in our political system, to keep back extremism from the left and the right. And I've put it in a circle. You know, some people look at the line graph like this. They see the middle right here. They see the right. They see the left. I see far right. I see far left. I like to look at it as a circle. The moderate's up here. And around the circle, there's the traditional left and right. And down here is the extremists on the left and right. And they meet in the middle because the extremists are exact opposite of the moderates. And moderation is what our great country is all about. Nothing wrong with having a few drinks in moderation. There's nothing wrong with having fun in moderation. There's nothing wrong with being different, like the LGBT community, in moderation. What do people complain about? They complain about craziness, extremeness, like the Olympics, etc. Things going overboard. But there shouldn't be this bashing against people and the diversity there is in this country. That's one thing we have in this country. We have our diversity. We have our equity. And we have our inclusion. DEI is not a bad thing if you put it down correctly. It's just a tool that people use. No matter what is out there, no matter what is created, sadly, humans, my fellow humans, will find good things to do. Well, that's not a sad thing. They'll have kind of good things to do about things. But they will also find something bad, a way to exploit it. And that's the sad. That goes for technology, reading, writing, anything. Somebody will always find a loophole or a way to exploit something that was supposed to be good. But that shouldn't hold us back from growing technological advances and growing as a culture. And we're going to keep coming straight at it with people like myself, a constitutionalist for America, someone who looks at things in a moderate view, someone who makes comments and commentary and pulls out who's a good candidate, who's a bad candidate, and implores people do better. Do right. Be right. Go right. Hashtag go right with Peter Boykin. God bless.